past, patiently waiting, I'm passionately smashing every expectation, every action's an act of creation. I'm laughing in the face of casualties of sorrow. For the first time I'm thinking past tomorrow.
Welcome to the 22nd episode of Why It's Awesome, the spoiler-free show where we attempt to take something often easily dismissed and explain why maybe you should give it a shot. The intention with this series is to help new fans find something that they'll enjoy that initially they might have passed over, or so that people who are already fans can pass this video on to their friends to persuade them to give the subject in question a go. This week I will be looking at something I am so excited to get to talk about: Hamilton, the hip-hop musical about the life of American founding father Alexander Hamilton. That's right, we're looking at a musical this week and it is awesome. But let's stick with the way this show usually runs and start things off with why some people may dismiss this. To start off with, people may initially, upon hearing what Hamilton is, react by saying, a hip-hop musical based on American founding father Alexander Hamilton. What in God's name are you talking about? After that mellows for a little while, people will usually have a couple of different reactions if this isn't really their thing. Some people may say that they are not interested in watching a musical about the life of Alexander Hamilton, with the undertone of that particular dismissal usually being that they don't know who he is, that they don't care who he is, or that it sounds really boring. Others could state that they're not fans of musicals as a form of entertainment or rap and hip-hop as a genre of music. On the flip side though, if you are interested in the musical, you still might consider dismissing it just because of the hassle of going to the theatre. Well, as you may have guessed from the title of this show, if you fall into one of these camps, then stick with me because Hamilton has a bit of Autobot in its genes, and there's more to this than meets the eye. For those of you who have spent the last minute incredibly confused, let's give you a little context. As I stated earlier, Hamilton is a musical about the life of American founding father Alexander Hamilton. The music, lyrics and script were all the brainchild of Lin-Manuel Miranda, inspired to create the show after reading a biography on Hamilton by Ron Chernow. You with me so far? Good. The next point is that yes, Hamilton's style of music is entirely based around hip-hop. Now, you may quite rightly laugh at this notion. I mean, late 18th century American history and hip-hop don't exactly flow into one another. But when you take a moment to actually consider who Hamilton was and what he did, it starts to make a lot of sense. In Lin's own words, he was born a penniless orphan of illegitimate birth, became George Washington's right-hand man, became Treasury Secretary, caught beef with every other founding father, and all on the strength of his writing. If that description doesn't scream hip-hop to you, I don't know what will. So thematically, it completely fits for Hamilton's life to be retold via hip-hop. His deeds and his story mesh together perfectly with the culture that has come out of this genre of music. It is the story of one immigrant as he attempts to scratch, claw and write his way up to the top of the mountain, rising above what society tells him he should be and what his limits are. There is no better soundtrack to tell this struggle, to express the anger and the fear and the craving to rise above your station, to be allowed to show just how good you are, than hip-hop. However, just because it fits well together doesn't mean that it's actually a good idea or that you should do it. Hamilton would not be nearly as good as it is or as worth discussing if not for, quite aptly, the strength of its writing. Hamilton is attempting to dramatically retell an abridged, slightly fictionalised version of Alexander Hamilton's life as a musical, with a particular focus on the American Revolutionary War and the subsequent founding of the United States of America. It endeavours to tell this story while also raising questions and asking us to better examine our modern day issues surrounding immigration and race. Now, that is a high bar to set, but for the most part, Hamilton knocks it out of the park. For those of you still on the fence about the subject matter here, it is important to note that Hamilton takes a lot of creative liberties with how the actual story went down. In the show, Hamilton is portrayed somewhat differently than a lot of historians think. Many relationships are exaggerated, characters are put into positions that they were never actually in, and some things are just straight made up. But this dramatic license is all for the betterment of the narrative. Lin has purposefully rewritten the founding father mythos to better reflect today's culture, going so far as to have nearly all named important characters in the story written specifically for and played by non-white actors. The show strives to say a lot about the struggle immigrants go through, while also attempting to be an engaging narrative about one immigrant's rise to the top. It's a difficult fine line to walk without coming across as preachy or overly political, but damn me if Hamilton doesn't pull it off. This is all to say nothing about the music. When I got first told of this musical's existence before I knew literally anything about it, I got all of these images in my head of cheesy, crappy costumes and basic rhyme structures and the whole thing being very poorly produced. Well, obviously that is not the case. Look at the footage I've been talking over as example A to Z of that. The whole production is as professionally produced as I've ever seen and, in my opinion, quite rightly deserving of the numerous Tony Awards it won for Best Choreography, Direction, Lighting Design and Costume Design. On the actual music front, Hamilton also won Tonys for Best Original Score, Best Book of a Musical and Best Musical, so that might tell you something about the quality of it. Of course, I understand awards are not the be-all, end-all of a piece of media's quality, but generally, I would say that most of the time they are a good indication as to whether or not something is worth your time. I personally back the Tonys' decisions here though, as the music is matching in quality with everything else this musical has to offer. I would suggest seeking out some of the songs on YouTube though to figure out if it's for you. So, are you excited about the prospect of this musical now? Are you like me and really interested in seeing it live and experiencing it in all its glory? Well, nope. Hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but as of the recording of this video, Hamilton is currently only showing on Broadway, and it is fully booked for as far into the future as I can see. There are plans for different productions in the works though. A non-touring production will be starting in Chicago later this month, and a full US national tour will be making the rounds in 2017. Of course, if you're not currently living in the US and understand that flights are expensive, then you're out of luck for the foreseeable future. I can only interpret this as an act of aggression on Hamilton's part and another kick in the teeth for that whole British rule thing we had over America for a while. You've made your point, please let me see this show. The main way to experience this as of right now is with the cast album. Lin has gone on record to say that cast albums were the main way he grew up on Broadway musicals, imagining the stories as he was listening to them. So he made sure that this was going to live up to that. Hamilton's script is nearly entirely songs. The full album clocks in at just over 2 hours and 20 minutes, spread over 2 acts and 46 songs. So by getting the cast album, you are experiencing a lot of what Hamilton has to offer. Ultimately, yes, the show really is that good. Its cultural impact cannot be understated, bringing genres that have up until this point remained mostly unheard of to musical theatre. It has become one of the biggest critical and commercial successes in Broadway history, all the while redefining what a musical can look and sound like. You will not find an experience like this anywhere else, and if there is any justice in the world, Hamilton should be a legitimate game changer for every form of entertainment. And I think you're going to want to check this one out. On that note, we must come to the end of another episode of Why It's Awesome. So, what did you think? Did you enjoy this video? Let me know with a like, and if you would like to see more, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Is there something that you love that other people just don't seem to get that you might want me to look into and make a video about? Let me know in the comments. And while you're there, what do you think about Hamilton? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? And why? What is it about this musical that makes you feel that way? Leave a comment to start a discussion, and, as always, thank you for watching.